afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. Great to have everybody with us here today. Please check out this morning's Are You Serious with myself and the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. We talk some Yankees and Mets there, a little bit of other Major League Baseball stuff, but mostly got into the NBA, the NHL, D. Hopkins. We'll get into all the Major League Baseball news today. And check out we'll check out the Sunday stream of consciousness, come Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Well, we'll get into all the sports news, including the U.S. Open. We're welcoming everybody on Let's Talk Sports today, as well as TGI Sports Talk, of course, and Sideline Sports. If you should see us there, please check out all the other shows that are going live and also on demand on Let's Talk Sports and Sideline Sports, if you would. And of course, you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and wherever else. So again, please like and share and follow the page. Invite your friends. Let's grow this community, both my community and go to Let's Talk Sports and Sideline Sports. I think mostly, well, you want to go to Facebook or YouTube, wherever you need to go, wherever they are located. Please like and share it and follow on Facebook and ring the bell, if you will, on YouTube. Please do that on YouTube here. Ring the bell, subscribe for Let's Talk Sports or TGI Sports Talk. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Lots going on in Major League Baseball. I got an article that we'll get into a little bit later that our own Drew Ehrlich sent me about not Marcus Stroman. Was it Marcus Stroman? Hold on, see if I can find it here. We'll get into it. My constant probably in my email. I'll find it. My constant ragging on the way pitchers are handled today. So there's an article in that Drew had sent me that kind of backs that up. I don't think it was Marcus Stroman. I think it was one of the rookie pitchers. Oh, it was the rookie pitcher from Miami. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Hopefully I still have that article nearby and we can go there. What did we do last night? Let's take a quick look at last night's scoreboard, and we'll get into some other look around the league, standing-wise and whatnot, and we'll get into some talk about the power rankings, see if we agree, look at some of the stats, whatever we have time for. And you guys feel free to put your comments up, add some topics. Let's enjoy this next hour. Last night, Rauschman and Hayes homer for the Orioles as they win again. Playing great baseball, man. They went 4-2 over the Blue Jays. The A's, the win streak is over. We're back on a losing streak. They lose 4-3 to the Rays. Luke Raley hits the go-ahead homer there. The Phillies, over 500 for the first time in over a month. They beat the Diamondbacks 5-4. The Diamondbacks are playing some good baseball. The Phillies trying to get things going. Aaron Nola gets the win last night. The Twins and the Tigers who have been really playing badly, beat the Twins 8-4 yesterday. Just their second victory in 13 games. The Braves over the Rockies 8-3. Ozzie Albies, AJ Smith, Shauver, they lead the way in this one. Albies had 3 hits and 3 RBIs. The Angels 5-3 over the Rangers. Ohtani gets the win and ties for the MLB Major League home run lead. That's kind of he had a 400. If I'm not mistaken, he had a 463-foot home run this week. Did he? Am I right or wrong? Did I see a headline on that? Maybe we'll talk about that more a bit later. Ohtani unreal, 443-foot home run. the other day. Where else are we going to go? The Pirates lose to the Cubs. Pirates up and down now. Stroman and Happ lead the way here for the Cubs in a 7-2 win over the Pirates. The Nationals beat the Astros 4-1. Guardians beat the Padres 8-6. Two very disappointing teams matching up here. And the Dodgers over the White Sox 5-3. Marcus Freeman. Who's Marcus Freeman? He's the head coach of Notre Dame. Freddie Freeman wins it in the 11th as the Dodgers try to keep pace with the Diamondbacks. So that's a little bit of what's going on there. Let's look at some of the news items if we can. We'll dive into some of this. We'll get into some conversation. As you guys pop in and out of the room, feel free to leave a comment, add a topic you want to chat about. Anything in Major League Baseball is open game. The Nevada governor signs a bill to fund the Las Vegas Stadium for the Athletics. Once more, the taxpayers on the hook for $1.5 billion. At least right now, this is the bill's only pledging $380 million of that. Where the other, $1.2 million is coming from, I have no idea, but I would guarantee that the taxpayers are going to pick up a lot of that. We got to stop moving teams and putting taxpayers on the hook, guys. Now, the state assembly did approve this with the guarantee that the A's will guarantee $2 million annually to the community and other small concessions. We'll see how this goes. Vegas looks to be a good landing spot for anybody, though. And Rob Manfred said he feels sorry for the A's. Everybody wants to blame this on A's management. I'm not blaming this on A's management. Part of it, look, they're to blame. There's plenty of blame to go around. But let's not leave the fans blameless. Look, they've had to play for decades in a football stadium, an antiquated football stadium. I understand that's not good. But these teams, I talked about this with the Mad New Yorker a little bit this morning. The 70s were one of the best dynasties in the history of baseball outside of, the 30s, 40s, and 50s Yankees, which nobody will tap. Actually, maybe a couple of Yankee dynasties. But anyway, one of the great dynasties. 3 years running, they win the World Series. But outside of playoff games, they weren't drawing 5,000, 6,000 people. In a lot of ways, A's fans only have themselves to blame. And ownership, there's plenty else to go around. Rob Manfred said he feels sorry for the fans in Oakland and do not like this outcome. He wanted a team in Vegas. He's got one. He doesn't like this outcome. But there was no offer in Oakland. Again, the fans aren't blameless. Ownership is not blameless. There's plenty of blame to go around why the A's are no longer in Oakland. We're done. It's a done deal. The taxpayers are going to pay through the nose. But we talked about Shohei Ohtani getting the win last night and hitting a 433-foot home run, his 22nd home run, which matched the major league lead. And they clinched it. They win a series over the first place Texas Rangers last night. So the Rangers are struggling a little bit, as we'll talk about in a minute. Really the first time this year they've had some struggles. We'll see how they deal with adversity. 4-6 in the last 10. We'll see how that goes. That's his 10th homer in the last 16 starts, by the way. And he's 6-2 on the mound. The Angels are now 39-32. They won 9 of their past 11. They're still 4.5 games behind the Rangers, but they've suddenly gotten right back in the race. So 4-6 in the last 10 for the Rangers, but they lost 6 of the last 8. A little bit of adversity. Let's see how they handle it. What else we got here? MLB is going to push the fences back for the Cardinals Cubs series in London. There's a little bit of they don't want to have the same kind of slugfest that they had in London in 2019 because the fences are getting pushed back. The center field wall will be 392, 7 feet deeper than 4 years ago. And what else? I thought I saw. And other changes, the alleys are increasing 5 feet to 387 feet. The dugouts are be repositioned, and foul territory will be greatly reduced to make the whole thing feel more authentic. So Major League Baseball back in London next year, I believe that will be. Or is that this year? Hold on. By the way, those games that were played there 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I guess, 4 years ago. I can't do math. Yankees and Red Sox combined for 10 home runs in 2 games. And their games were 17-13 for the Yankees and 12-8 for the Yankees. So they want to kind of get this to be a little bit more realistic. The Rays, we said, the first team in Major League Baseball getting to 50 wins with their win over the A's yesterday. So great job for them. What else we have news-wise? Robot umpires not likely for MLB call up in 2024. They're using these in a lot of Major League, in a lot of minor league, ballparks. Some of it I saw, and if it's what I saw, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It wasn't strictly robot umpires, but I did see that balls. So if there was a questionable strike call, batter can challenge, just touch his head. The umpire challenges, sees what's going on. He asks for help, and they get a yes or no call in like 5 seconds. I don't like the human element being taken away. But, I don't know. Are the changes to Major League Baseball good this year? We adopted a pitch clock. We got restrictions on defensive shifts. Pitcher disengagement, such as pickoff attempts and larger bases. So you got rules geared towards all those things. The average time of a 9-inning game has dropped to 2 hours and 38 minutes from 3:05, which is good. And I like the increased pace of play, right? But there's still some unintended things that shouldn't happen. You're seeing managers get thrown out over pitch clock domination, pitch clock questions. We saw a minor league game end on a pitching clock violation, which is horrendous. And who was it the other day? Somebody. I still have that story up here. Somebody got called for 3. Probably have that here somewhere. 3 pitch clock violations in 1 inning. Can't remember who it was now. I'll come across it probably. What else has happened? The 248 batting average is up from 243 for the full 2022 season, and it's on track to be the highest since 2019. That's all wonderful, but artificially done as always. You don't need to eliminate the shift to increase batting average. Just teach guys how to hit the ball where they ain't. What else? An average attendance is up about 2,000 a game overall. So these are some of the, I don't know if you want to call it the state of the game conversation by... Hold on. Anyway, Rob Manfred's state of the game, will you, if you will. What the hell's going on there? There you go. What else we got news-wise? Let me look over here. We had also a few... Drew Smith was suspended 10 games. Speaking of pitchers' violations, the second Met pitcher to be suspended 10 games this year. Max Scherzer was the first for having some sticky substances on their hands. As you know, this happened, I believe, during the Yankee series. It happened on Tuesday. 4 umps converged on the mound as Smith entered for the seventh inning, all of them taking a swipe off Smith's right hand. Players getting felt up right and left here, right? And drawing Mets manager Buck Showalter out of the dugout. After a brief discussion, Smith appearing to plead his case. Bill Miller, the crew chief, ejected him before Buck even reached the mound. So he's now suspended 10 games. Don't be a pitcher trying to get ahead. It's not gonna work out. You're gonna lose every time because they do not want you to succeed. Bad news for the Astros as Lance McCullers Jr. undergoes season-ending surgery. He had been making some progress coming back from an arm injury after having season-ending surgery last year to repair a flexor tendon and remove a bone spur in his throwing arm. This was the surgery he underwent this year. Excuse me. He was coming back from a previous injury, which he'd been making some progress until recently. And he had some forearm issues, forearm strain, if you will. Once you hear those words combined, forearm anything, Jacob deGrom, it's never good news, and he will be out for the remainder of this year at a minimum. He didn't pitch this season at all. Last time he appeared was in Game 3 of the World Series, where he allowed 7 runs in 4 1/3 innings. McCullers is very good when he gets himself healthy, but he's not been healthy in a couple of years now. The A's fans staged a reverse boycott of the team, packing the Coliseum for the game against the Rays. The event was organized. This is kind of interesting. The event was organized in an effort to show the team's recent woes are not because of lack of fan support. You should do this every day, not just when, you're putting together a protest. Supported created a fundraiser to print Kelly Green shirts with "Sell" across the front, directed at owner John Fisher, who was given away, and they were given away to fans for free before the game. The group raised more than $30,000 and planned to hand out 7,000 shirts. So maybe if you came out in droves like that every game, your team could improve. Now, again, I am not giving ownership a pass here, but the fans have themselves to blame in a lot of what's going on here in Oakland, and it's not a good situation. Trevor Bauer, who's been pitching in Japan after being suspended by the Dodgers in Major League Baseball, he's now been accused of another sexual assault, if you will, that happened in late 2020. The woman also alleges 4 other incidents in which Bauer physically assaulted her, including holding a steak knife to her throat. Oh, my gosh. This guy, this is obviously not a good guy. And as I say, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But when it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's usually a duck. And when you start to see repeat occurrences, this isn't one disgruntled woman, and you start to see repeat allegations similar to Deshaun Watson. This hasn't reached Deshaun Watson status yet, although he's actually been charged, so the charges are much more serious. He's all done. He may even get banned in Japan now. Who knows? Major League Baseball intends to curb team spending on tech. Staffing limits also discussed. So high-ranking officials have discussed limiting how much teams can spend in areas other than players' salaries, such as technology, player development, scouting, health. Multiple people were briefed on these discussions. as the Athletic reported earlier this week. I'm not sure. Listen, this is another attempt to level the playing field so that the haves will start to kind of come down to the have-nots. No, I don't understand. I mean, again, if you're getting revenue sharing, like the Rays, like the Twins, like the Pirates, like the Diamondbacks, all in first place, by the way, so they're making good use of the money that they get. The Marlins and Brewers and Orioles are also doing well. But then you got teams like the Royals and the A's and who do not make use of their money. But another, to me, transparent attempt of Major League Baseball to try to create parity where you don't need it. It's okay if teams are better than others. You need to get yourself motivated to get better. Major League Baseball shouldn't be making the better organizations worse to even a playing field. Another ridiculous attempt. Oh, God. What is this story here? This is an interesting story. Rickwood Field will host a game in 2024. It looks like it will be the Giants. Let me get back in here. Looks like the Giants and Cardinals will play at Rickwood Field, former park of the Birmingham Black Barons. Another attempt by Major League. Now, some of these things I like. I like the Field of Dreams game, although I don't know if it's happening this year. I'd have to look into it. Again, in my mind, the White Sox have to be in that game every year. I like what they're doing here, going to some of the old Negro League stadiums and playing baseball. I think these are very worthwhile endeavors for Major League Baseball to try to grow their fandom, to try to honor the history of the game, including the Negro Leagues. Let's focus on these things instead of changing rules we don't need to change. How about that? I mean, this is a good story. Oh, wait a minute. Major League Baseball's Field of Dreams. Whoops. Saw a story about the Field of Dreams game. I lost it now. We'll find out what's going on with that. There we go. Field of Dreams. Willie Mays played for the Birmingham Barons, by the way, and this is a way to honor him and his Negro League start as well. There is no Field of Dream games this year because of youth baseball and softball complexes being built on the same stadium site. Major League Baseball is expected to hold future games at the Field of Dreams site, while additional special revenues went eyed towards celebrating the game's heritage. The idea of staging a game to honor Mays at Rickwood Field, which was built in 1910, was first mentioned in the San Francisco Chronicle by Bruce Jenkins 2 years ago. And I think this is a great way to honor Willie Mays and the Negro Leagues, where a lot of really good players played and never got a chance to play in the Major Leagues. Just an FYI. And I was reading a story about Branch Rickey on this topic, and you know what Branch Rickey meant to Major League Baseball and bringing Jackie Robinson to the Dodgers. But when Branch Rickey was running the Cardinals years before, I want to say 10 years before, maybe it wasn't that long, he wanted to bring Josh Gibson, the great catcher, to the Cardinals 10 years before he ever brought Jackie Robinson to the Major Leagues. But Commissioner Kennesaw Landis, a noted racist, blatant racist, said if they did that, then the Cardinals may be stripped of their Major League Baseball status. So, oh well. Lawmakers now are also introduced are getting themselves or injecting themselves into teams that are losing, cities that are losing pro baseball teams. Representative Barbara Lee of California and Mark DeSoliner introduced the Moneyball Act on Tuesday, a bill that would require the owners of any relocating professional baseball team to compensate the state and local authorities they move away from. The legislation would apply to teams moving more than 25 miles from their previous home fields. If the owners do not provide compensation, MLB would be subject to the antitrust laws the league has been exempt from since 1922. Anytime the word antitrust comes up, Major League Baseball, professional sports teams in general, start to quiver. We'll see whether this is something that gets any hold. Per the bill, the compensation owed due to relocating would be not less than the state, local, or tribal tax revenue levied in the last 10 years prior to the date of relocation, and paid respectively to each state, local, or tribal government which levied taxes on the club in the 10 years prior to the date of relocation. I mean, that's all well and good, but if I own something, I should be able to move it. If it's not doing well here, I should be able to move it. If I'm not doing well in Tampa, I should be able to move my team to London, which is stupid, but I should be able to do that. Communities don't own these teams. And again, get out and support your team and it won't move. I guarantee you it won't move. Now owners put good product together so you don't have to worry about this stuff. And lastly, Hal Steinbrenner talked about a lot of stuff the other day. One of them, there's been no discussion on sending Anthony Volpe to the minor leagues through 67 games. This article might be a couple days old. He was hitting 186 with 9 homers, 42 hits, and he struck out 77 times, which is probably the most worrisome aspect of this. Steinbrenner did laud his Volpe's defensive play. He ranks 3rd in baseball in shortstop putouts behind Jeremy Pena and Washington's C.J. Abrams. But the Yankees are committed to him. You know, he's hitting 186. Whether the Yankees can continue to let Volpe play there every day, hitting 186 for an entire year, is debatable. A lot of it may depend on whether we get Judge back healthy and whether the other veteran hitters pick it up. You can carry a guy hitting 186. He's got a little pop. He'll walk. He's stopped walking the way he was earlier in the year. But if he's playing good defense, you can carry that guy. But if the rest of the lineup is not producing, and the Yankees have had really, since Judge has been out, DJ slumped a little bit. He's came back a little bit in the Mets series. Rizzo's been slumping, came back a little bit in the Mets series. Stanton hasn't hit. Donaldson's not hitting. So, and it could be, and maybe they'll send Volpe down to get his stroke back. I don't know. Peraza's been hot in the minor leagues. Personally, I think they'll stick with him unless the rest of the team continues to not hit. And Judge were out for an extended period of time, which would further hamper that lineup. I think then you might see something happen. We'll see about that. What else did I want to talk about? Who are some of the players with the most unexpected starts in 2023 so far? Michael Harris had one of the most impressive rookie seasons in a while last year. He jumped straight from high A to the majors with only a short pit stop at Double A. He then came in, and I don't care about the WAR. In just 114 games, he obliterated right-handers, hit 323 with a 943, or if I'm doing my math right, OPS against right-handers, highest in baseball, 5th highest in baseball among regulars. He did struggle against lefties, and this was at age 21. In a sophomore season, he's been struggling now. He tries to get his average over 200. His OPS is under 6. Not to be surprised. He's only 21 years old. I mean, His strikeout rate's about the same as last season. His walk rate's up a bit, and his chase rate. And again, I don't like to get into all these metrics, but these are some important ones. Has slightly improved. So these are all good signs that he will break out of this. I don't care about his launch angle. I don't know why we have to talk about all this stuff. So I would say that these early results are not for real. And I think Harris will come back and be, if he's not, doesn't put up the numbers he put up last year, he will be a productive player for the Braves here as we head towards the second half of the season. Julio Rodriguez. Speaking of superstars in the making, he also won the Rookie of the Year last year. A tremendous year. Hit 27 home runs over his final 99 games last year. I mean, it wasn't unreasonable to dream of a big, a 300 season and a 35 homer season this season. But he's gotten out of the season badly, chasing too many pitches, and really not hitting the ball with any authority right at this moment. He's down to 237 and slugged 356. Right now, strikeouts are contagious in the Seattle lineup, and Rodriguez can't seem to escape that problem. The early results, is this for real? I don't think this is for real. I think that, again, this is a kid who will get better. Forget about the MVP conversations for this season. It's not going to happen. Alek Manoah for the Blue Jays has been atrocious. Him and Jose Barrios have kind of switched places. Barrios was terrible last year in his first year as a Blue Jay. And he started to put it together this year. Meanwhile, Manoah, who finished third in the Cy Young voting last year, has pitched so poorly, the Blue Jays finally sent him down to the Florida Complex League, where he'll work on the backfields and figure out what's gone wrong. 42 walks in 58 innings. Now, this has happened before. This happened to Hall of Famer Roy Halladay. He got off with a 10.64 ERA in his second season. He had to get sent back down. So we'll see if this is real or not. I think he'll probably come back in the second half and be a productive pitcher for the Blue Jays. JD Martinez. Dodgers signed Martinez to a one-year deal for $10 million. And he's been one of the best sluggers in the majors so far. He's already matched the 16 home runs he hit last year. He's closing in on 300 home runs for his career. I think he's only a couple away and about 50 or so away for 1,000 RBIs for his career. Not bad for a player the Astros released when he was 26. Played right here in Troy, New York at the time, the Tri-Valley Valley Cats, who were the Class A affiliate for the Astros. So he's done well. I mean, I don't know that he's going to maintain this because he's, still striking out a lot. He's 35 years old. I do not think he's on his way to a 40 home run season. I think he'll slow down in the second half. Sean Murphy, who was part of the centerpiece of a big trade with the Braves. So they got a couple of guys that have struggled a bit. Or has he struggled or not? Hold on. Oh, sorry. He's gotten off to a good start. I don't like some of these stats they throw in here, though. This is terrible. He's improved his OPS by 100. And I think he's for real. He was a key piece in this Braves trade where they traded away Contreras to the Brewers, who had a really good season for the Braves last year, and traded some kids to Oakland to get Murphy from their side of this trade. JT Realmuto, probably the best catcher in baseball. He's 32 years old. He he's you wonder if he's paying a price right now for the heavy workload. Had 130 starts last year, plus every inning in all 17 of the postseason for the Phillies. He's gotten off to a bit of a slow start here. Like Trey Turner, both struggling with sub 300 on base percentages. And Schwarber as well, by the way, is hitting well under 200. I think Realmuto may be ready for a downward turn. He did hit for the cycle here this week after having some words with Torey Lovullo, the Diamondbacks manager, about some pitches close to Corbin Carroll. But I think that it's possible at 32, and a lot of wear and tear the last few years, that Realmuto may be on a downward trend. Some other guys, Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, Francisco Lindor, all struggling at the plate. Who's for real? I mean, which one of these results is for real? Personally, I think all of them will bounce back. And I think this is just, but Bogaerts is sitting in a tougher ballpark. So he's probably the least likely in my mind to bounce back. I think Correa and Lindor will get themselves righted and help their teams independent drive down the stretch. Xavier Bogaerts, I think, will as well, but he's going to have a tougher time matching the numbers he put up in Boston in a tougher pitcher park out there in San Diego. So just a few things to kind of take a look at. Let's head around the standings right now, if we can. I do want to get into something here. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find this this email from Drew. Where is it? Where are you, Drew? That's not it. I think I'm in my... Hang on. We'll find it. If you remember right, we were talking about the way Major League teams handle pitchers today, trying to protect their investments in starting pitchers and really shooting themselves in the foot. I think going about this backwards, and they're hurting the pitchers that they're actually trying to help. They don't pitch enough. Drew sent me this article saying that Yuri Perez, who they just brought up here a month ago, he could be optioned to the minors when Trevor Rogers returns from the injured list within a week or so. Barry Jackson and Craig Mish of the Miami Herald report and they talk about whether it's when Rogers is activated or soon after, Perez will be sent back to the minors at some point. Being sent back to the minors at some point seems inevitable. He doesn't deserve to be demoted, of course, but having put up a 2.17 ERA, a 30 to 13 K to base on balls over 29 innings, covering 6 starts. But the 20-year-old has never thrown more than 78 innings in a pro season and has already reached 60 frames between the majors and the minors in 2023. So some level of workload management here is necessary. No, it's not. This should have been addressed as he was developing. He shouldn't have been averaging 78 innings as a pro. And he should have been pitching between starts. This is exactly the stuff I'm talking about. Now, Jackson Mish also write that the Marlins are comfortable with letting Perez throw 100 to 120 innings this season, and sending him to the minors would more easily allow the team to limit his starts to 1 per every 7 to 10 days. This goal could also curtail Perez's workload now so that he could potentially be available down a stretch. You shouldn't have to worry about this and play these games. If you let these kids pitch from the time you take them under your wing, don't put, 60 pitch limits on these kids in the minor leagues and low minors. Let them pitch, strengthen their arms. You wouldn't have to worry about this when you bring them to the majors. You got a kid who's been in majors for a month and they're worried about his workload. This is exactly what I keep telling you is wrong with MLB's approach and organization's approach to young pitchers. It's stupid. There's Drew now. Hello, Drew. Facebook didn't notify me about my broadcast. Well, that's BS. That's what we set these reminders for. I bashed them harder, but they're liable to block me again for a freaking month like they did 2 years ago. This video will start soon when you go live. Interesting. Apologize for that, but I can't. Technology is a wonderful thing. Ellen found it on the internet. Seems you're only broadcasting on certain channels. Interesting. Well, we'll check that out. Or probably on YouTube. Are we on YouTube? Let me go to my Facebook page for a second, Drew, since you brought that up. Bear with me a second, guys, while I see if I'm going to go to my, if I can do this without causing a problem. Well, I can see that I'm broadcasting on my personal page, Drew. Let's go to TGI Sports Talk and see what happens there. Bear with me a second. This is always exciting commentary, I know. Just want to know whether I want to bash Facebook or not. It looks like we're live. Yeah, we're live. I don't know. Not sure what to tell you there, Drew. But Facebook, again, has a mind of its own. Don't forget, if you can't find us on Facebook, you can always get us on YouTube. You can get us on Twitter. Anyway. Good to have you with us, Drew. Finally just showed up on my computer. There you go. Who the hell knows? William Contreras, thank you. I don't know how long ago I missed these comments. Oh, you posted these a little bit ago. I didn't even see in there, Drew. I apologize. So, as I was just about to start going around the majors a little bit. I don't know how much you caught of what we talked about, Drew. I caught up on the news a little bit. I just talked about, you probably just heard me talk about Yuri Perez and the nonsensical way that the Marlins are handling this. Again, to have a guy up from the minors for a month and you're already concerned that you're going to blow his arm out because he's never pitched so much it's not the problem now. The problem isn't what you do with him now. The problem is what you've done with him all the time up until now. Oh, so frustrating. Let's go around the majors, shall we? Drew, if there's any topics you wanted to bring up that you might have earlier, we went through some of the major news items of the day, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the things we chatted about. We chatted about Ohtani getting a win and hitting his tying for the Major League home run lead, 433-foot home run, or 443-foot home run last night. I talked about the commissioner feeling sorry for the fans in Oakland, the fans having a reverse protest last night by actually showing up to the stadium. We talked about the trip for the Cards and Cubs going to London, how they've changed the configuration of the field a bit, trying to avoid the lack of baseball-like play from the Orioles or from the Rays and from the Red Sox and the Yankees last time they were there. I think 2019 that was. We talked about a few other topics as well. So we'll jump into the getting around the league here. So it's getting to be, quarter to four. The Rays get their 50th win, first team to 50 wins, 7-3 in their last 10. Orioles keeping pace with them, only 5 games back. Beat the Rays last night. I'm sorry, didn't beat the Rays last night, but they did win last night. Beat the Blue Jays, I believe. The Yankees and Blue Jays remain 9.5 and 11 back. Yankees, we talked about Volpe and whether he might get sent down. I think the Yankees can hold off and keep him in that lineup, assuming Judge gets back and the rest of this lineup starts to hit. If nobody hits in this lineup, they will not be able to carry a 190 batting average very long. That's for sure. Justin Steele will be coming back to the Cubs soon. The Cubs, the Central divisions are bad, and we'll get to the Cincinnati situation in a little bit. Drew, I don't know if you were with me last week, but I had to do a mea culpa because I poo-pooed the whole Cincinnati kids in a waiting, and I was wrong. Not only have these kids come up and played well, I know one of them you just picked up. There's more coming. Where else? The Yankees 5-5 in their last 10. The Blue Jays 5-5 in their last 10. Kind of treading water. You know, and you can't just say, as a Yankee fan, I've mentioned this a couple times, you can't just say, it doesn't matter, we'll make a wild card. There's going to be a tough race for 3 spots. Let's just assume Tampa Bay wins, right? You got the Orioles, the Yankees, the Blue Jays. I'm not counting the Red Sox, sorry. I'm not counting anybody in the Central. But you're going to have either the Astros or the Rangers or the Angels or whoever doesn't win you're going to have 3 teams there. You're going to have 6 teams. 6 teams. So the 3 that don't win in the West, the 3 that don't win in the East are going to be fighting for 3 spots. It's not a given the Yankees will make the playoffs. And again, their problems have been, more hitting-wise than they've been pitching-wise. Their overall numbers pitching-wise are not that bad. Hitting-wise, they're not good. And with Judge out, that lineup is just weak, especially with Rizzo not hitting. DJ got off the snide a little bit against the Mets. So did Rizzo a little bit. But Donaldson just can't hit his way out of a paper sack. Nobody they put in the outfield outside of Judge has done much. Stanton's stinking to join up. Yankees have got to get it together. And it's going to be very hard to trade for a player that makes an impact going forward. Any comments you guys have, feel free to jump in. Right now, at least on Facebook, it looks like we've only got Drew with us today commenting, but that's okay because Drew has lots to offer when it comes to baseball and the people that watch this later. Yes, Cubs and Cardinals playing in London next weekend. I couldn't find that real quick when I was looking at the article. It'll be interesting to see what happens, and hopefully it will not be the slugfest that the Yankees and Red Sox were 4 years ago. And no Field of Dreams, I mentioned, too. One of the topics I talked about, Drew, they're rebuilding that facility there. And while they expect to have Field of Dreams games in the future, there will not be one this year. And by the way, when they play it again, the White Sox have got to be involved every year. They just do. Getting to the AL Central, the Twins holding on to first place, getting back above 500. They are 4-6 in their last 10. The Guardians playing a little bit better at 6-4, 2.5 games back, but still a big disappointment. The White Sox, they make a run, fall back a little bit, still 10 games under 500, but very much in the race, only 5.5 back. I mean, the Tigers, who have played horrendous for the last 2 weeks or better, are only 6 games back after, I don't know, losing 9 of 11 or something like that. The Royals are just terrible, 1-9 in their last 9 straight losses. They've decided they want to compete now with the A's. That they actually have a worse record than the A's, and that takes some doing. 18-50 are the Royals, 19-52 are the A's. They're going to have a race to who can get to 121 losses first. The Rangers starting to stumble a little bit, 4-6 in their last 10. Lost 6 of their last 8, I believe. Losing to the Angels and Ohtani last night. This is the first real adversity for the Rangers, so we're going to see what this team is made out of. Now, this is where having Bruce Bochy as your manager really, really does help for sure. I'll get to your comments here in a second, Drew. The Astros only 4-6 in their last 10, but 3.5 games out. Angels 4.5 games out after going 8-2 in their last 10. Mariners still struggling, and I've got this feeling, and I know I said that I thought that the Toronto manager Schneider would be the first manager fired. Scott Surveys could be in trouble if things don't get righted in Seattle soon. And the A's, of course, are the A's. Their winning streak is over, and they've started a new losing streak. What do you got here, Drew? All-Star game voting going on. Yeah, I got to wait a little bit because got to wait till everybody's, played at home. And I don't know if I like, I'm not even sure I like the fan voting anymore. For years and years, there was a time, I believe, and Drew, you can straighten me out if I'm wrong. There was a time in the 70s or 80s where I think they took the vote away or changed the vote to include the players. Maybe I'm misremembering this, and maybe it's a dream I had or something I read in an old baseball digest. But the fans have got to be smarter in the way they vote for these all-star teams. And by the way, we got to stop including somebody from every team. There's going to be teams left out. There's going to be players left out that are deserving because we got to put somebody in there from the Royals and somebody in there from the A's. Trade deadline should be interesting, but we've got another month before it really heats up. I don't know. Deadline is the 31st, right, of July. You would think it'll be a month before it heats up. But some of these teams may look, because of the lack, I think the lack of quality available players, and my own thoughts are you're going to see a lot of relief pitchers traded and very little else. There's no Soto out there this year. Ohtani's not getting traded because the Angels are in the race, if he was even going to be on the block. And I think some of these teams may look to get out in front of the others because there's going to be such a lack of players available. There's not going to have a lot of sellers. I mean, you got the Royals, you've got the A's, obviously, probably the Tigers, although the Tigers might fool themselves into thinking they're in a race, but I don't think so. The weakness of the two central divisions hurts available players and sellers, so we'll see how that plays out. But it should be interesting to see, it always is interesting, and we could be wrong. I could be wrong. There could be big names that move because there are teams. You saw like the Orioles do it last year, and you may see other teams like, I don't know, say Pittsburgh, trade, but don't give up on the season. We've almost always viewed selling as giving up on the season. The Orioles didn't do that last year. We'll see if there's some of these other teams are able to kind of pull off the same tightrope walk as the Orioles did. The Orioles didn't make the playoffs last year, but they managed to stay in the race pretty much that entire second half. In the National League, the Braves continue to pace the league with the best record. They've now won 3 in a row, 8 of the last 10 after a little bit of a slump. They're now leading the Marlins, the surprising Marlins, 7 games over, 7-3 in their last 10, still minus 30 run differential, 7 games over 500. Very, very hard to do. Great pitching, just enough hitting. Araza, please, I can't talk about 400 just yet. Let's wait till at least the 4th of July. How about maybe even August 1st, and then we'll start talking about it. The Phillies back over 500, as I said, for the first time in a month, playing some better baseball, 8-2 in their last 10, 3 in a row now. Nola and Wheeler have started to kind of get it going a little bit. Harper rounding into form. The Mets, I don't know what to say about the Mets. We talked about it on Are You Serious this morning. The Yankees have something to look forward to in Judge coming back. While the Mets do have Alonso to look forward to coming back, they were playing bad before he got hurt. That's a long one, Drew. Give me a minute to get through the East here, and I'll come to that comment. What was I saying? I don't see a spark for the Mets. Alonso, I can't call a spark when, he's playing great baseball and he's hitting a ton of home runs. Average isn't that great. But the Mets have got so many issues. We got issues with the pitching, starting with the two veteran stars at the top of the rotation. They're not hitting the ball. They're not hitting the ball in the clutch. The fielding, which had stood up, was atrocious against the Yankees. These were 2 of the worst played games I've watched all year long between either one of these teams. The Yankees didn't play that great either, by the way. I love Buck. And you're not firing a manager to get a spark there. You're not firing him. You just will not fire Buck. You're not going to. So where's the spark going to come from? It's going to be hard to make a trade, as I said. So it's hard. You know, the Phillies last year were able to fire Joe Girardi and got a spark with their new manager, Thompson, who I love. Rob Thompson's done a great job. He's done a great job again this year with a team that's very flawed. Mets aren't firing Buck, nor should they. And the Nationals are bringing up the rear. Now let's see what you got here, Drew. This will be a little cover up my face. All-Star Game managers selected the entire lineups from 33 to 46. Drew doing some quick research for me here. Thank you. In 47, the fans were given the ability to select the starting lineups until 57. I remember this. Red fans did stuff the ballot, and I think they had, as you say, 7 starters and Stan Musial. This forced the commissioner, Ford Frick, to step in and replace Wally Post and Gus Bell with Willie Mays and Hank Aaron that season, and turn over the starting lineup selection to players, coaches, managers, and several subsequent. Are you finishing it over here? Mess, worst team. Oh, Mets. Mess. I don't know. I don't know if it cut you off here, Drew, or what. So I don't know what the rest of your comments were there, but eventually the fans did get the vote back. And probably rightfully so. There's always going to be some controversy here, right? But I don't know. My biggest thing is I don't want to see a team. I don't want to see somebody from every team. It was different back in the day where you couldn't watch teams play. Every team's on TV. There's a plethora of games all over the place. I don't need to see somebody from the Royals when I can see them play other places. Since 1970, the fans have elected the starting lineups for one player for each baseball position, except for pitcher, for both the National and American League teams. Ask a question, get an answer. Thank you, Drew. Let's finish up we're going to run out of time here, so let's finish up here. The Central Pirates back in first, only a game over 500, 4-6 in their last 10. They did have a little bit of a good streak as they moved back into first, but this is more Milwaukee coming back to the pack. They've lost 6 in a row now. Three wins in their last 10 games. The Reds, who again I said I missed this big time. Drew talked about this on a preview show about them having, I believe, if I'm wrong, correct me, Drew, but I think you and some others, you were the first to tell me, and then some others had told me as we went through the season, that there were some good young kids coming along for Cincinnati, and I kind of poo-pooed it, saying this organization is run terribly. The way they've dismantled the team was irresponsible, and I was absolutely wrong. They've got some kids that are just out of this world. They've won 5 in a row, 8 of their last 10. They moved within a game of first place and only a game under 500. Great job by this organization. David Bell, who was probably in trouble here a month ago, is now going to be looked at as one of the manager of the year candidates if this trend continues. Cubs were the only team in this division with a plus run differential. Amazingly enough, they're 6 games under 500, but only 3.5 out. And the Cardinals, who continue to be maybe the most disappointing team in baseball, but you've got the Padres and you've got the Mets and you've got the White Sox to contend there. They're 15 games under 500, 2-8 in their last 10. 5 losses in a row after getting themselves righted for a little bit. Out west, the Diamondbacks, despite losing 3 in a row, still with a 2-game lead over the Dodgers. They're 41-28. The Giants still surprising, 7-3 in their last 10, 4 wins in a row, 36-32, 4.5 games out of first. The Padres just can't get out of their own way. They're 6-4 in their last 10. But they've had a classic win 3, lose 4, win 4, lose 3, 33-35. We're going to get to midseason here pretty soon. This trend is not good for the Padres. Pitching's been better than the hitting, which we didn't think could be the case. Manny's back. We'll see how this team fares. I think the next month is really imperative for this team to get it going. I don't think Bob Melvin will pay the price here. Bob Melvin, well respected. I don't think this is a managerial issue. Nobody wants to win the NL Central except maybe the Reds. Good call. I missed this one big time. Great job by you, Drew, and getting out in front of this. The Reds need Green to match the young. Pitching is their downfall, right? Pitching is a lot of teams' downfall. If Green pitches anywhere nearly as well as the two kids, Dela Cruz, if I'm saying the name right, let me just double check my names here, because we all know what a stickler I am for getting names right. I think Spencer Steer was the first guy to come up here. But Matt McClain came up, played shortstop, has been playing very well. They just brought up Dela Cruz last week. He's been playing well. Fast, man. That guy brings speed personified to the field. So great job. And the problem is the pitchers. I don't like any of their pitchers. We'll see whether Green can really, as Drew says, match the hitters and keep this team on a positive roll. I'm a little bit over here, Drew. I'll hang around a couple minutes if you got something you wanted to bring up topic-wise. Again, we touched on a lot of stuff early on. We talked about Volpe, whether the Yankees would continue to stick with him or maybe send him down for a couple of weeks at least to get his stroke back. I think as long as the other hitters do not continue to, wallow in the depths here, and Judge gets back to help that lineup. The lineup is just so different without Judge. They can afford to carry his bat as long as he plays well in the field, shows a little pop, which he has. They can afford, if he hits 200, it won't kill them as long as the rest of this lineup comes back and does what they should do. Got to go yourself. We'll be back. We'll pick it back up Sunday for sure. We'll carry more. We'll carry on, if you will. We didn't get to look at the big matchups this weekend, but we will do that later on Sunday as well. Guys, you have a great, great week. We'll see you right back here next week with the Major League Baseball update on TGI Sports Talk. Please get out, like, and share, and follow the page, and invite your friends, guys. Please. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later. Keep in with the TGI Sports Talk.